What's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into another edition of PTN Extra. As always, I'm Evan Kamiko. That is Mike Irwin. We've got baseball opening day coming up Friday. Softball opening weekend just happened. Woo, that offense looked really good. Basketball, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. But Mike, let's start on the hardwood. Last night, Arkansas taking down LSU 91-62. A really good defensive performance by the Hogs. What'd you think of the win?
Yeah, I thought it was their best defense of the year because LSU is pretty good. There were moments in which they really got to Arkansas, but it was little short segments. Arkansas is giving up an average of 76.5 points a game. Most of the games that they've won, the opponent scored in the 70s. There's been 3 where they held opponents in the 60s. Vanderbilt at home, they held them to 68 and won the game. Mississippi State 68, road game won. This was 62. This is the best defensive performance of the year. Had somebody tell me today, ran into a guy outside talking when I was out at Walmart, and he said, "Oh, well, come on, you can't, that's LSU, they're not any good." There's no such thing as a no-good team in the SEC. Even the bottom teams can score, and LSU can score. I thought they just did a great job of, first of all, limiting the outside shots, but then also what has been the problem with this team is down low. And Brazil in particular, block shots, one block shot turned into a rebound. I don't know if it was a block shot or a rebound because he just went up and grabbed it.
Yeah.
But it proves to me all along that when they were giving up all these points down in the paint, it didn't have to be that way. So the issue is, what's going on here? And Cal had said, I think he said this after the game, that when they had that week off, he just told them, you have to decide if you want to learn to play defense or not. And I guess they did. Now the question is, will this continue? Because the next game is here, but it's against Auburn, and Auburn just happens to have scored more points against Arkansas than any other team this year. They scored 95 on the Hogs in the game at Auburn. So you'll have motivation. You're going up against a team that just scored 95 points on you the last time you played them. Can you go out and hold them high 60s, lower 70s?
And to your point, when Cal was talking after the win, he was just like, yeah, I just told them, you're either rebounding the ball or you're not, and you're not playing. And it's that simple, no more box out drills, no more anything. Can you get the ball? What's interesting to me is it seems like since Calipari has gotten here to Arkansas, every time this team goes down with injuries and the rotation gets shorter, the team happens to play better.
Isn't that interesting?
Do you think so as well, or am I crazy? What do you think
Well,
on that?
he said historically that that's what he's always done. Played with a short roster, played with 5, played with 6, played with 7. I still think you don't want to do that long term, and I still think you need to get the 2 injured guys back, because you're going to get into foul trouble eventually. You're going to need help. I worry about these guys playing too many minutes. The only reason, now they had a couple of guys play 40 minutes against Mississippi State. It would have been close to that in this game, except he took all the starters out with about 2 minutes to go. So that kept them from being 39 minutes, a couple of those guys. But the issue is, can you continue to do that? And I don't think you can and be successful, because I think you'll wear these guys out. But we don't know how bad those injuries are. I theorize that he has decided that that's what was affecting them, both of them, and he's just going to sit them until they're okay. And we don't know how long that's going to be.
And it doesn't get any better. You saw towards the end of the game, Malik Ewan, he got hit in the face, had to get 4 stitches. Cal confirmed that after the win in his press conference. But you look at the minutes like you were mentioning, right? Pringle and Ewan, 18 and 17 minutes. Everybody else was 34 plus. Malik Thomas, 34 minutes. Billy Richmond III, 36. A-Cup, 36. Trevin Brazil, 37. So is it necessarily sustainable? Only time will tell. But if last year told us anything, it's that this team should be well conditioned to be able to play these kind of minutes at the end of the year.
I think momentum caused by winning and doing things right always helps. You can say all you want about what motivates players, but I just have never felt like losses motivates anybody. It puts doubt in your mind. And when you lose games or when you give up a lot of points, even if you think to yourself, I can get better, there's a mental block there. So I got to believe the way they're playing right now, it's got to help them from here on out.
And I want to talk about a local kid, Springdale native Isaiah Seeley. He's been getting a little bit more run with, again, DJ Wagner and Carter Knox out. Questionable still for this weekend. We don't have any status on those two, but how important is it for people in Arkansas to see Seeley start to crack the rotation? Cal said he put him on Josh Hubbard against Mississippi State because he trusted the kid. I think he had a rougher night last night against LSU, but still the stepping stones towards him becoming maybe a rotational factor next year are definitely there.
Yeah, I think it's huge for next year what he can do this year. We'll see how much he continues to contribute because he won't be the same every night. He doesn't have nearly as much experience as most of these guys. So it's still like on-the-job training, and anybody that's ever taken a new job knows that at first it's a little weird, and then you kind of feel more comfortable. So let's come back here and revisit this in about a week, 2 weeks, to see if he continues to play more and if he's more of a factor. There were a couple of alley-oops that the pass themselves weren't the best, and he had trouble getting up there, and missed them. But I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to be really good and really important for this team next year.
And coming into last weekend, Arkansas struggled on the road. They were 1-3 in true road games. You got the win at Oklahoma, which again, that's the last place team in the SEC. And you go and you beat a bad Mississippi State team and a bad LSU team, some of the bottom half of the conference. But how important is it for them to get this kind of momentum being down, guys? Now when you look at the upcoming stretch, you're back home against Auburn, who, even though they just lost to, I believe, Vanderbilt a couple of days ago, they still beat you pretty badly the last time they played, then Alabama, then home against Missouri, and eventually Texas A&M and Florida to close the month.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you win this game against Auburn, you're up to 9 wins. Then you can afford maybe some road losses. But I wouldn't. The way they're playing right now, I don't think they'll win out. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them go beat Alabama on the road. I don't think they'll beat Florida on the road, but I think they can win some more, at least one more road game, and then all their home games, and you're in great shape.
Yeah, at that point, again, you're still right now, if you're Arkansas, you're 8-3. You're kind of exactly where you want to be. Top of the conference, tied in first. Maybe you don't have the tiebreaker. Let me just double check that to make sure. Obviously, Kentucky, the head-to-head goes to Kentucky. You haven't played Florida yet, but they're all 8-3 sitting right at the top of the conference. As we get to this kind of stretch run with about 6 or 7 games remaining, what do you want to see from Cal's team as we move forward and to give them a chance to win the SEC title during the regular season?
I want to see if Brazil continues to be consistent. He's now had 2 good games in a row, and he's had about 4 out of the last 6. So he's getting more consistent. So you want to see him be more consistent. I think Billy Richmond is huge. I think he can play. Let him be a factor. Let him give him more minutes. That's definitely an important thing from here on out. And then the defense just has to be. You may not hold people into the 60s, but don't give up 85 and try to win 86, 84 or something like that. Play better defense.
And when we look at college basketball as a whole, you've got Alabama coming up. Recently, everything has gone on, it feels like, in the NIL college basketball era right now at Alabama with Charles Bediako. What's your take of the situation now that the NCAA let him play for a little bit, and now they're backing off on it and he can't play anymore?
Well, too bad. Too bad for them. I still hope they have to forfeit those games because they thumbed their nose. I mean, Nate Oates can say what he wanted. He acted like that he didn't really have anything to do with this. The kid just decided he wanted to play. Okay, you came and you asked us if you could play for us, so yeah, we'll let you play. He understood the implication of that. I think he thought the NCAA wouldn't do anything. They would back down like they've been backing down, and he wasn't paying attention because lately, the NCAA doesn't do anything on its own. They're getting feedback from other schools, other ADs, other coaches. And I think this whole issue of everything's out of control, coaches, athletic directors, because they know the fans feel this way, they're looking for the NCAA now to go back and start being what it should be. There was a period in my career of about 15 years when I was really down on the NCAA. I felt like they just didn't get it. And I kept saying, the NCAA works for the schools, not the other way around. Then all of a sudden they get hit in the mouth with that Supreme Court decision and they just turned into weenies. And now everybody's saying, hey, come on, be what you're supposed to be. Lead us. You're the lead organization for this group, college, whatever, football, basketball. Lead us. And so I think Nate Oates miscalculated this. Too bad. I think obviously it's going to be more difficult for them to win with Bediako gone, but I think they should have to forfeit those games anyway.
I just loved when they went on the road and everyone was chanting G League dropout. I thought that was really funny. And again, it's a whole thing in college basketball where if you look around the country, the second if you go to a smaller sport like a tennis or a golf, the second that you turn pro and you accept professional money, you can't go back and you lose your eligibility. I don't know why basketball is different. I don't really know if there's rules saying it's not. I don't know the rules that well, but it should be standard throughout every single sport. The second that you take professional money, no matter what level, you should lose your eligibility. Let's end on that.
Okay, well, agents and their lawyers are always looking for a way to make more money. And what they look for is excuses. Well, we can do this because of this. The big excuse they're using right now is, well, what about all these European guys? They're pros. They come over here and they've made money before. It's a totally different situation in Europe. Yes, you even could have some veteran guys in their mid-20s that have played several years professional basketball in Europe, but it's not the NBA. It's not even the G Leagues. And they've clearly made an exception to that all along. If they want to, at some point, rule that out, I guess they could do it. I think it would be unfair to those European players, a lot of whom want to come over here and play on the college level so they can get to the NBA. So it's an excuse. They're going to push it. They're going to continue to try to say, hey, but look where we go if you don't do something. The next thing that's going to happen is guys are going to go to the NBA. Forget the G Leagues. There'll be somebody that played on an NBA team, and they'll come back.
Yeah.
And so when there's no rule if you do that, you just might as well not have any rules. You're going to let some guy 30 come and play?
It's trending that way.
Yeah, this has to hold up.
Yeah.
And I hope it will, and I think it will.
And it feels like it's in every major sport, whether it's basketball or football, but only time will tell. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on PTN Extra. When we come back, we're talking Arkansas baseball. Mike Irwin and I will return on the other side. Stick around. PTN Extra returns after these messages. Back here on PTN Extra. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I'm Evan Kamiko. That is Mike Irwin. Mike, it is my favorite time of year. College baseball season is finally here. Arkansas opens the season this weekend down at the Shriners Children's College Baseball Showdown. Cannot wait. Texas Tech, Oklahoma, TCU on the docket for the Razorbacks. Big news this morning that broke in DVH's press conference where we knew where the rotation was heading. It felt like Gabe Gackle was going to be the guy on Friday. That was confirmed. Hunter Dietz was going to be the day 2 starter, the Saturday guy. That was confirmed. Game 3, the Sunday guy, it's going to Colin Fisher over Cole Gibbler. What do you make of the Hogs' rotation weekend 1?
Well, I think it had to do with the scrimmaging last week. Gibbler really looked like maybe even a Saturday guy based on the way they were doing these scrimmages, but in the Friday scrimmage, he just got rocked. And I think that spooked him a little bit. And I think that helped make the decision. Plus, Fisher came out a day later on Sunday. I think he went 5 innings, gave up no runs. So that decides it for now. Look, a lot of people think that you really need your starting rotation established before the season starts. I've seen years in which that's not a good deal. I like the fact that you should spend the first few weeks figuring out who does what. I don't see that as a disaster. So if they continue to mess around with this lineup a little bit, I'm fine with that. It's just go play. That's the whole point of these first 3 games. You're going on the road. You're playing in a controlled environment, so you're not out there worried about guys trying to pitch in 40-degree weather. And it's more middle of the season type weather because it's indoors, and we'll see how everybody looks.
Yeah, only time will tell what the rotation's actually going to be because it's great that this is the rotation opening weekend. What's it going to be when the super regionals are here or the regionals are here way down the line? If they come here, I might have just jinxed them. I'm going to knock on some wood right now that they'll host again. But what is it going to be when that time comes and when we get to way down the line in tournament time in this season? But they're going down to, like I said, Arlington for this weekend's showcase. What are you most looking forward to about these teams that Arkansas has to face and what this team kind of has to show the fan base this year that, hey, we can do exactly what we did last year, which was get to Omaha and be one of the last 4 standing?
Well, they're going to have the crowd behind them because they always do. People like going to – you got a lot of alums and fans in the Dallas-Fort Worth area anyway. And being able to come out and watch a game in that environment, controlled. You're not going to freeze. You're not going to sit there with the wind blowing all over you and it's 45 degrees. So the fans will be there. And it will be interesting to see how the team responds to that. They're coming into this tournament ranked 5th. TCU's the one team, the opponent that they play is ranked preseason 15th. That really doesn't mean anything. I mean, these are media people doing these rankings for the most part. There is a coaches poll, but that could all change. So every game you're just looking and saying, how do you look? How do you respond? The thing that bothers me, and I wish something could be done about this, is a big deal to the fans. And they're stuck with this flow thing going on where you can't go, if you're used to watching ESPN3 like I am, now you've got to go sign up on Flow, and then you don't know whether Flow will work or not, and then you've got to remember to cancel it after a month or you'll be stuck with it for the rest of the year. And so what ends up happening is a lot of fans end up listening to it on the radio. And I know last year I had problems with Flow. And so what I ended up, because I don't have a radio in my house, I don't know why, but I don't. So I had to go out into the garage and back my car out because I didn't want to turn it on and have it running, you know, while I was in the garage.
Yeah.
So I back it out, and it's pretty cold out there, and I'm listening to the game on the radio, and that's how you sit outside in a car for about 2.5 hours. Even with, you know, you're burning gas, you're wondering, what am I doing here? You get out and run into the house and get something to drink and come back. So I hope I won't have to do that. I'm going to try to do the Flow thing again, but man, I'm not looking forward to it.
Death, taxes, and Mike Irwin versus Flow College Sports. That is something that's as old as time. But when we look at this Arkansas lineup, right? Ryder Helfrich should be the center point of it. I'm excited to see Nolan Souza at the top of the lineup. What's one name that fans at home should get to know now before they see them show off this summer?
I'm interested in what they do in the outfield because they've got one spot out there that, as of the other day, didn't look like it was filled. I mean, I just don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they've got to put somebody out there, and that's a weak spot, it looks like to me. And then the whole issue is, who's the shortstop?
Yeah.
Is Sousa, he has an arm, coming off an arm injury. Can he throw the ball well enough at shortstop? Arkansas's better teams have always been solid at shortstop. That could be a major issue. If I'm sitting here right now talking to you about this team, the big question mark I have is not hitting, it's not pitching, it's defense. Because there's been a lot of people that have watched this team in the fall. Dave Van Horn has said it himself, even watching the couple of different scrimmage situations early, and then they were indoors, then they're back outdoors again. Looks like there may be a few defensive issues.
Yeah, we've known Arkansas last year, one of the best defensive teams in the entire country, especially up the middle. JTJ, Cam Kojal, as well as shortstop, the Hiva Lloyd Golden Spikes winner Ryder Helfrich. So they've been really patent there. And now you have Kojal back of those four, but you've got to replace your center fielder with Mike Anu, and hopefully his glove from Marshall can come and maybe be a little bit better, a little bit stronger here at Arkansas. You're going to have Carson Brumbaugh. It sounds like the freshman is going to be starting at shortstop on opening night, which I don't know the last time Arkansas had a shortstop that was a freshman.
Then who is the DH?
Souza.
Okay, then what happens to Aloy? Are they going to stick him out in right field?
That's what it seems like.
All I'm doing is reading this because I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But they stuck him out there apparently on Sunday in right field, and there were people watching that game said he didn't know how to catch a fly ball.
Yeah, had a couple drops.
So I don't know. They were just looking at how he was playing the ball. Said he had a couple of them that he caught that they didn't even know how he caught the ball. So I don't know. Matt Hobbs Dave Van Horn had to go somewhere and get honored somewhere or something, and Matt Hobbs did. I think it was might have been the Sunday.
Yeah, I think it was the Saturday one.
Okay, the Saturday one where he had to talk to the media. And that's what he said. He said, we're going to stick with him out there. But, man, that is a risk.
Brenton Clark's injury does not really help the team because we know Aloy has the bat. He can hit here at the college level, but the glove, that's a big question. You go back a couple of years ago, and, I just remember Kendall Diggs, year one, wasn't great in right field. The next year he was really good, and unfortunately injuries kind of prevented him from being at the next level and playing to that next level of his game. So it'll be really fascinating to see where the lineup kind of changes over the next couple of weeks. And, again, you look at left field as well. Is it going to be Damian Ruiz, Christian Turner? Which of those guys is going to win? and it sounds like it was Ruiz's spot to lose, and Christian Turner came in and almost won that battle. So the outfield, a lot of question marks besides Mike Anu right now in those two corner spots when you're replacing year in and year out your entire outfield for now the third year in a row.
Yeah, so again, what are we really looking at? Well, we're looking at pitching and we're looking at hitting, but I'm telling you, if you want to know what to look for in this 3-game series, and it will really be 4 because they're going to play a Monday game. It's, I guess, Tarleton State, whatever. Look for defense. That's where the weakness should be, and if they play good defensively, then it looks good for this team.
And we can go back for this Arkansas baseball program the last couple of years. They've won 18-plus games in conference since, I believe, 2018. So it goes back a very long time. Is the expectation, it's always going to be there, but do they have to get over the hump this year? Does it feel like this is maybe one of those last opportunities to do so with DVH at the helm?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to be here several more years. There are people think he's nearing retirement because they're looking at Hobbs and saying, well, he's keeping Hobbs around by promising him you'll take over when I'm ready to retire. But what is that, 10 years? Come on, he wouldn't stick around for 10 years. So I don't know how many more years Dave Van Horn has. For me, one of the biggest issues this year, next year, and on is Arkansas doesn't sit really well in baseball in terms of NIL money. I won't say they have the problem that Sam Pittman had, but LSU's got wads of NIL money, and they just go reload every year. Van Horn was asked about that in an interview he did. He said, even if I had all the NIL money I wanted, I would still rely heavily on high school guys and develop them because that's what I like to do. But come on, you still need the transfer portal. And if there are schools, I think what I heard or read was that Arkansas might be 5th or 6th in the SEC in terms of NIL money available. Well, if you're down there that far back, year after year after year, at some point does that start to affect the program? I think they need to do something about this. This is one of those questions when this whole memorandum came up about how do you fund the athletic department, and they didn't talk about it all going to football, but most of it's going to football. Basketball sort of raises their own money. Does Dave Van Horn have to get out and develop some more, some basketball boosters or whatever? Where does he sit? Trey Dare was just showing me the new field they've got at Tennessee. I saw a shot of Mississippi State. They're going to do sponsorships along the sidelines, corporate sponsorships with names down the sidelines. Maybe Arkansas has to get creative with stuff like that. But you can't win in any sport without portal transfers.
Right, and we don't know numbers of how Arkansas is going to split up when the rev sharing comes in and all of that. We don't have concrete numbers of how they will put each money into each sport. That's only, something that we've been wondering for, it feels like almost a year right now, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about the memorandum that the board came up with. I think they stepped in there and basically acknowledged the days are over when athletics has to be totally self-supported. It's always been that way here. There's a new day. And we're paying these athletes now, and we're too far behind in football, the biggest sport, the one that generates all the money. So, hey, academic side, we're the board. We're telling Chancellor Robinson, you have to help more.
Yeah.
You have to help a lot more. And I think that's a good place to start. But there are just all kinds of other areas that the athletic director needs to look at, figure out how he's going to manage it, because you got women's basketball. Somehow they've got to get money into that program. You've got to get money into baseball. It's good. It's in a good situation, but do you want baseball to have peaked? Because if they don't start getting more NIL money, I think that may happen.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, one more break here on PTN Extra. We'll wrap up shop when we come back. All right, wrapping up shop here on PTN Extra. Mike Irwin and Evan Kamiko with you. Mike, it's been a fun week so far for Arkansas sports. Basketball 2-0. Softball starts the year 4-1. Overall, what did we miss? What did we not touch on that you want to talk about before we go?
I just think if you go back to the very depressing last 6-7 games of the football season, the fans it was like somebody was just standing up, tying them to a pole and throwing mud at them. Here, take this, take that. Fans, they somehow held up, most of them. I'm reading the social media stuff, and I don't think they just let it overwhelm them. But what I like is it looks like things are turning back now. I mean, You got a new head football coach. He came in and he did pretty well in the portal. A lot of things that Silverfield is talking about right now. The difference between him and what's been done in the past, he's not having press conference. He's going out and meeting with people directly, which I think is even better than the press conference. So there are good signs there. I think basketball may have turned a corner here. Baseball, you don't know, but I think it's going to be pretty good. So and softball's off to a really good start. So let's just flow into this 2026, and hopefully when we get to the end of it next fall, we don't have all that stuff we have to deal with.
Keep the momentum going, and hopefully a national championship trophy coming to the Hill in the next couple months. All right, that's going to do it for PTN Extra this week. For our great production crew who makes this happen, Mike Irwin, I'm Evan Camico. We'll see you back here next week on PTN Extra.